Yeah, so good morning and welcome to the Throwback Thursday. I wanted to talk about the very first tour that I did on the KLR 650 in Mlando, and it was a fantastic tour, many lessons learned. Make sure you put oil into your KLR 650, it drinks oil a lot, especially the older models, the 2008 model that I had. And make sure you have luggage for your bike. Don't be a hero like I tried to be and do 1,300 kilometers with a rucksack on my back. But yeah, it was a fantastic tour. Traveled quite a bit during the tour. I did about 1,300 kilometers, 3 nights in the bush. So that was very cool. The very first day I left Johannesburg on the 9th of August 2017. And I headed off to a place called Amsterdam. I saw Amsterdam on the map and I said, well, I haven't been to Amsterdam, Netherlands, I might go to Amsterdam, South Africa. So yeah, I took I think it was the N4 route all the way through and ended up in Amsterdam. And then from Amsterdam went down towards the very first battle site that I wanted to see was in Tombe. Tombe battlefield. We have found it. Oh, battlefield number 1. Which is actually a Zulu British battlefield, if I'm not mistaken, part of the Zulu War with the Brits. And yeah, the British were a bit decimated at that battle. And then I went to the Filter Larsen Memorial. It's on the one road. Unscheduled monument stop. And then I made my way through to the first campsite, which was the Natal Spa campsite, which was absolutely fantastic. Hot water, hot spa, really nice. The one thing that sticks out to me was the amount of dassies at the campsite. As I arrived, dassies scurrying all over the place. When I got to the campsite, there were dassies sitting in the tree, watching me over the campsite. So that was quite an interesting experience, in all honesty. Yeah, and that was amazing. That was very cool. It was the first night, 9th of August, first time camping on a motorcycle and going on a motorcycle tour. So really did enjoy that. And the next morning, the 10th of August, I left. I had a look at the map, Paul Kruger Bridge, which was just on the route towards the next location. Kruger Bridge, I think it is. So that was very cool, nice to ride in the bush, but I'll throw some of the footage into this, but really poor footage because I was just learning. I had the camera on top of the helmet over there, cheap and nasty camera. I've actually still got the camera, I've kept it as a memento forever, so very cool. And on that day I went to the Skipper's Neck battlefield. I went to the Blood River and Nkome battlefield. So on the Zulu side they call it the Battle of Nkome, and the Boers they called it the Battle of Blood River, and the museums on both sides. Ended up Isandlwana, which was a British and Zulu war as well. So that's where the British were annihilated by the Zulu regiments at the Battle of Isandlwana. And then I handed it off to Rorke's Drift, so that was also very interesting. That's where the British had a standing against the Zulus for, I don't know, I think it was a good 24 hours or something like that. The Zulus were attacking Rorke's Drift, and the British were successful in fending off their attacks. And there, after Rorke's Drift, we went through to the next campsite, and that was in Greytown, and I stayed at the Beehive campsite. The Beehive campsite is a huge campsite, a nice big, what would you call it, podium for musicians, etc. I was the only one there, so that was interesting to say the least. But it was a lovely campsite. The one thing I do remember about the campsite, which was quite vivid, is an amazing braai stand that they had. So the braai stand was an old sink, and you made your braai in this old sink, and you had your place on the right hand side for the meat, and you made your fire, and off you went. You had a fantastic braai at the Beehive campsite. And on the 11th of August I departed, and we went through to Escort, and I went to the Fort Dunford Museum, so that was very nice as well. Got a couple of nice shots there and took a nice walk through of the museum. And then on the way through to Falk's Rest, I wanted to go to the armoured train incident. For those that don't know, I mean, Winston Churchill was a journalist before he became the Prime Minister of England, and he was captured at the armoured train incident just outside of Escort. Then I went up to Colenso, and that was very interesting. There was a couple of battles and a lot of battles at Colenso. I went to the Ladysmith Museum, also very nice, and a lot of mementos, a lot of lovely history and information about the Boer War and Ladysmith and the siege of Ladysmith. And then I went through to Newcastle to Fort Emile. So Fort Emile was also a very nice, very interesting fort that was part of the British forts in Ladysmith. I went via Amajuba, the mountain, and that was part of the First Anglo-Boer War. I stayed at Falk's Rest in the Mahawane campsite then the last night, and that's when I sadly learned that I had popped the rings on the bike. So the bike was smoking like a chimney and wasn't fun. I thought maybe I had done something wrong. Checked the oil, the oil was fine, but the bike was smoking, so I'd popped the rings on the KLR 650. So there's a lesson for you, and if you have a KLR 650, make sure you check your oil regularly, particularly the earlier models. And after that I travelled back home. On the 12th of August I headed back home to Johannesburg, the smoking bike all the way back. I think it was about 300 kilometers, 250, 300 kilometers. I had to stop off in Standerton at the hardware shop to try and buy oil, so I bought a big, I think it was a 2 or 3 litre oil, and just to be able to top up the bike on a regular basis. But yeah, it was a fantastic tour, lots of memories, lots of lessons learnt. But yes, suffice to say that it was a very interesting learning curve for me, and that just got me started in wanting to go on more tours and more tours and more tours. So I think I've done about 14 different tours now around South Africa, And yeah, every single one of them has been memorable, special, and fantastic. So that was Throwback Thursday. Throwback Thursday being today. Very first tour that I did on a motorcycle, camping and carrying everything on my back in a rucksack. Absolutely stupid, but succeeded. And very costly repair to the KLR 650. I loved it so much I had to get it repaired. It cost me a pretty penny, and they did upgrade the bore and the stroke a little bit on the bike, or the bore on the bike by, it was 2 millimeters if I'm not mistaken, so the 652 cc's became 679 if I'm not mistaken by my calculations. So yeah, very cool. Glad I could share this, and hope you have a great Throwback Thursday. Cheers, bye.